Kia ora, and welcome to Safe as Houses. We're your hosts. I'm Alistair,
And I'm Kate.
and we're here to guide you on how to make your houses safer. So it's you and not the next natural hazard that decides your future. In this episode, we are going to cover the simple actions that you can take to get ready to respond to natural hazard events, which actions we've actually taken ourselves, and the actions we recommend you take to prepare for natural hazards. So we're throwing ourselves in the deep end here, Kate. Have we
We
practiced what
really
we
are.
preach? I've just sprung this
Was that a
upon you, so
nervous laugh?
let's see what we've done. So today we're thinking about. I don't want to get too technical straight off the bat, but in New Zealand, quite a lot of the time we talk about risk reduction and then readiness to respond actions. So there's kind of a bit of division between those. So the kind of readiness to respond actions are. What's that face, Kate?
I don't think there are much differences between it.
Do you
Because
not?
I'm not a big fan of the 4 R's though, because I just don't think that makes sense.
Explain. Do tell.
Controversial, I know. Well, it's
Controversial.
just that, like readiness is a risk reduction action, and risk reduction also helps readiness. So I feel like there's just like so much overlap, and it's just this like theory that's just been adopted and just like used and used. And I don't think anyone's come up with anything better, so we've just like stuck with it. And for the
It's definitely a continuum. I can definitely give you that. And I think that's something that we'll talk about as we go through some of the actions today around how some of them contribute to multiple things. And I've definitely worked in places where like, yeah, man, you get real technical on all these what is resilience, all that kind of stuff. Personally, I view risk reduction as like the like physical action you can take to like as we spoke about in a previous episode where you can like actually do things to your home and then sort of readiness is kind of like, okay, well, I'm like ready to respond. I am ready to do something and I am prepared myself as opposed to I have physically altered my surroundings.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing is like for me, like I don't think you're ever ready, like for when it actually happens. Like there's just, like that's kind of like the definition of an emergency or a disaster. It's like beyond what you've like prepared for. And even if that's just like mental or, the fact that you didn't have X, Y, and Z that you're like, oh, that would have been really handy. But I think like by calling it readiness, we're also just saying that like you will be ready. And I don't think we're
Okay.
ever going to be ready. Like you can be like more ready, but it's like, I think it's just why I prefer to say like, this is what you can do to like reduce the
Yeah.
impacts, like
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to do really. Like if you're looking at it from that perspective.
Well, shall we run through some of these actions that are often termed readiness actions? Maybe we'll call them like readier, like readier than you were before. I think they're actions that are pretty well understood across New Zealand. So I think we're going to need to put our hands up and we're going to need to say whether we've done it ourselves and um, maybe we'll say why.
Okay.
And I also I'm interested in whether we can give these like a hot or not score. Whether we
Okay.
personally are like pretty brutally just like, do we think we should do this? But that's we'll talk about it as we go through. All right, first one up that I have is know your local hazards. Understand the hazards that could affect you, where you work, and your family and friends. What do you reckon?
Hot, 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 hot.
I think that's a super hot action
Yeah.
if we're gonna go there. Have you done it?
100%. Um, I think about it all the time. Not even just like where I'm living, it's also like where I'm going, But I think that's also just a part of like what we do, like it's always
Yeah.
on my mind. So I'm probably different to your normal average Joe that's not thinking about it all the time,
Yeah.
but I do.
I think I think it's a really hot action and one that I equally do. I go places like I'll go to the beach and I'll be like, okay, this is great. I just want to know where the tsunami evacuation zone, where the tsunami evacuation route is. Like just
Yeah.
so I'm aware. Or just that I'm aware that I'm like, okay, cool. Like if I do theatre and sometimes I'll be like, right, well then I'm now in a new space that I'm not in all of the time and I'm just gonna
Yeah.
check where I need to go if there is a big event. Because these big events happen and then you just kind of want and so thinking about what can affect the places that you go to just means that you're starting to think and be aware of what's around you. I think I agree though. I'm doing that because I'm very aware of like natural hazards and certain natural hazards in particular. I guess in places that I don't go normally, I'm not like what's the surface flooding risk. I
No.
like I care about that less. I care about like the big hazards. I'm like, okay, cool. Like theater's a really good one actually, because I'm like, okay, well, like there's probably an earthquake risk here. So like I need to be aware of all the things that are like above me,
Yeah,
which
so
I'll
you're
get
not
obviously.
necessarily thinking about, like, the big like because you call it the big hazard, you're actually just talking about, like, what could affect your life safety, really.
Yes. Yeah. What can affect
Yeah,
my life safety? Yeah. And then equally, like if I'm in a tsunami zone, then I'm like, okay, well, where do I go if
yeah.
there's something that can suddenly affect my life safety? The thing that I think a lot of people also benefit from this activity was shown in the Canterbury earthquakes. Christchurch, a lot of people before the earthquakes thought earthquakes happen in Wellington, so they don't happen here. And that put their kind of awareness and their recovery back a step, because initially when the event happened, it was this confusion. It was like, what is happening? What just happened? I don't understand how this happened here, because people weren't aware of their risk in that area, even though we kind of know like all of New Zealand can be affected by earthquakes. And so it's kind of like there is hazard everywhere. And so understanding the hazard kind of helps you understand, okay, well, I can be affected by this sort of thing. And that then means that when those things do happen or may happen in the future, then you've kind of got that baseline knowledge of like, oh, I knew that could happen. So I at least mentally prepared myself for that thing. And I may have made some informed decisions, or at least been aware that that thing was going to happen.
I think if you do anything, it's just thinking about what could affect you where you are.
Nice. Okay, well, the next one, this goes on quite nicely, is make a plan.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I 100% like, I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 5 still, but
A
I'm gonna
hot.
say
You're calling it hot.
oh, sorry, I'm calling it hot then, sorry, we're
Hot
calling it
action.
hot or not. I'm gonna call this
I'm not
hot,
for in betweens here. I'm for extremes.
but with, like, the added bit
Oh,
that
are we moving to lukewarm? Is that what we're
no, still very hot.
very hot? Okay.
Hot,
Spicy.
but I think it's better like, I think the value is in talking about the plan.
Right.
And so you see quite a lot of like people being like, here's like my piece of paper and here's my plan. And I think the value is making the plan, talking about it with other people rather than necessarily like writing it down. So like for me, like making a plan could just be like, oh, like what are we gonna do if there's no power? You know? And that's the plan. So it doesn't have to be anything formal. For me, it's just like having the conversation.
Cool. I like that. I'm going to be controversial. I don't
Yeah.
have a plan. Don't have a plan. I
What
think
do you
it's
mean?
I have a plan. No plan. What's my plan? I don't know. Like, so for me, I haven't
Like,
done it. So
wait,
I'm
no,
going to
you
say
had
it's
like,
not.
sorry, let's dig
I'm
into
going to
this
go
a little
there.
bit more.
I'm like,
Like,
I don't have a plan. What's my
right,
plan then to be?
right now,
Yeah.
if you had to like evacuate your house,
Yeah.
where would you go?
For what reason?
Okay, now you're putting me on the spot, making up a scenario that's realistic and
For a
like,
tsunami?
no, okay. Let's say it's been super duper windy, a tree has come down across your roof, and you've had to, like, it's still stormy outside, you don't feel safe at home. Where are you gonna go?
I have no plan for that. I would call friends,
Yeah, but that's a
talk to
plan.
neighbors. But
That's
that's not a plan.
100%.
No,
Yeah,
it's not.
100% is a
I think
plan
it is.
because you know where you'll go and what you'll do.
No, but I don't know if they're going to be there. I would just be like, I just rely on people around me.
Yeah, 100%. But, like, I still feel like if that's a plan in itself, is, like, you
Okay.
know that you're gonna be, like, backed up by, like, friends or family and that you've got, like, your community around you to support you. So,
Yeah.
like, your plan is to rely on those people.
I've always thought that like a plan was like this kind of family plan of like if me and my partner were like in work and something happened, big earthquake happened,
Yeah,
and we couldn't talk, then like
yeah,
where it's like where do you meet the school kids? Like where do they go? Like those sorts of things,
yeah,
which I think works really well for like a nuclear family. Or
100%.
could. But like for me, I'm like just make my way home probably. And then if I couldn't make my way home, I have no idea how like what I would do. I don't see I don't, do you know what I mean? I don't not see the value in it, but I just think
Yeah,
it's been something that's been bouncing around like so much and I've never done it to the point that I'm like, is it like that necessary. Like, do I think I would eventually be able to find my partner? Yeah. Like, do I think we would both survive? Yeah. So do I think we need a plan for that? Nah.
That's super interesting because, like, especially if, like, knowing what you know about, like, a large earthquake in Wellington and knowing how difficult it can be, like, to travel places and get around, like, that's not something you've been like, "Oh, we both work and we're close to this area, so we'd meet here." Or you'd both just try and get home, or, like,
Yeah.
you potentially may not even go home. Like, I'm assuming you may also be supporting the response somehow there, Ali. Like, like, I'm just, I guess, really surprised that that's not a conversation that you have had.
I think it's just for me, it's like there's too many like permeations. Like it's like such an extreme thing to get to a point that we can't get home.
Yeah.
Like, I guess
But I
maybe it's
think that's,
also
like,
because
it's realistic though, right? Like, because that, just using the Canterbury example, like, that that was a really realistic for scenario for some people, and that just, like, I guess I understand that, like, oh my gosh, is this person okay? Like, not having that ability to
mm,
check in, or someone, I guess, is, like, behind my motivations for it. Because after Cyclone Gabrielle, like, I sent my parents a message to be like, I'm evacuating, like, my house. I'm 500 meters from the river. And so our cell phone towers are there for probably like 24 hours after, like, a power cut with, like, backup batteries and stuff. And then after that, they die. And that was probably like the last text message I got out for another 24 hours until they got the phones operating. So that was the last message my parents heard from me, was like, "I'm evacuating." Like, it wasn't like, "I'm now safely at a friend's."
yeah,
So I guess I guess that's my motivation for it.
yeah, yeah. I have weirdly similar motivation, but like in the UK. Like I will like if anything big happens in New Zealand, I text my parents to be like, I'm not affected. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah,
Like this, I know this one's big enough that like it's gonna make the international news. But
yeah,
no, I just kind of yeah, in terms of making a plan, I guess me and my partner are both very like fit and active, and I'm like to be like we could walk home
yeah,
from town if I needed to. So I'm
yeah.
kind of like like
This is so funny because I feel like even just this conversation where, like, you actually do have land, like, this is something that you've kinda, like, semi thought about.
I've thought about it, but I haven't actually made a plan with anyone. I don't know. Like I've thought, yeah,
Yeah.
but
Thought
I
about
think
it, I think, is still counting as making a
still
plan.
counts as a plan. So you're saying that so I'm saying I don't think it's worthwhile, but you're saying I've already done it without knowing it. So, all right, cool. So I
Because
get
I
a
think
gold star from
that's
you, and
yeah.
me, I'm just sailing, breezing by. I'm like, on no work, no work whatsoever. All right, we'll move on.
Yeah.
We'll move on.
Okay.
We'll see about that one. Right, next one. Prepare an emergency kit. Hot or not? Putting you on the spot. Do you want me to go first?
Okay, you go first with this one.
I'm gonna say no. With the asterisk
It's
that it's
awkward
sort of
laughter, that's me feeling
yeah, yeah,
uncomfortable.
yeah. With the asterisk that it's like it works for some people, like in some situations. Like I feel like if I was living in a tsunami zone where like that was the thing that I needed, yeah,
Wait, are we talking about having, like, supplies at home, or are we talking about a grab bag? Because to me, those are 2 different things.
we're talking about a grab bag here.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
that's okay, okay, what okay, I'm really surprised by the not. Okay. Wait, did you say
yeah.
that's based on your circumstance right now, though?
I think
Or
if I was
you
in a different
personally?
circumstance, I would be like, I kind of would need one of those. My problem with them is that it's like everyone in work has a grab bag, and I'm like, why? Like this makes no sense that we have like lockers full of grab bags and no one knows what's in them and no one keeps them up to date. And it's tricky because it's the kind of thing that it's like you see the value in it, but then no one keeps them up, and then you're like, well, what's that? If you haven't kept it up, then what's the point?
Well, hey, I'm on the other complete flip side of this one then.
All right, go
So,
for it.
for a grab bag, again, I've always had a grab bag and have always kept it up to date as well, because it's all stuff that I use really regularly.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's
Yeah,
real
so,
good.
like, I guess if I'm gonna take you through my grab bag right now, it's got old pair of running shoes and socks.
Yeah.
So, this is actually, I keep this all in my car as well. So, most places I'm going, I have my car
There.
with me or around. And so that's super handy if I'm like out and about and I'm like, oh, I need to swap shoes, like take my dog Jimmy for a walk. Like I've got shoes in the car. Handy. Then I also have like a whole lot of snacks. Again, if I'm ever hungry or I've like come back from a hike, those snacks get eaten, but they also get replaced. So it just means that I've got like some food available if, I need it.
Man, you found me up here, Kate. Keep going. Come on.
And then I have got 2 liters at least of water. So I've got 2 liters for me, and then I've also got 2 liters for Jimmy, my doggo. They're like interchangeable. He can drink shitty average water if I'm like really needing the water.
Does he normally have filtered?
He doesn't know where it filtered. Um, but yeah, so I've got water. I also always have a battery pack in the car as well. That probably started when I was like on call for emergency management. And so like you're like attached to your phone like all the time. So you just always want to have it charged. And so that can give me like at least 5 charges that stays in my car again as well. So it just means that I always have some form of communication, provided that we have internet and cell phone service. I also have a first aid kit in the car.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a surf lifeguard. Like I've done so many lifeguard training courses and I've also like attended crashes that it's just like, for me, I've used those kits. Like they really come in handy. So that's something that stays in my car as well. And I have a head torch because I enjoy tramping and hiking, and it just comes in handy too to have a head torch in your car. So it's like they're not all in the same place in the car, but like those are all the items that make up my grab bag. And because like I get migraines as well, like I have migraine medication in the car and like hand sanitizer and toilet paper, or like actually probably more likely tissues. But I think all of those things are there. And then because I have a dog, Jimmy, I also have enough food usually for him for like, I have made it 6 days because it's like 6 cups worth of food. And then he's got like his poo bags and an extra long like lead and a blanket and stuff. So
See, for me,
yeah,
this is exactly how I think it's targeted, and I think how it works best. But like, so I use different modes of transport. I have
yeah,
a car, but I largely don't use the car to go places. Like me and my partner cycle to work. That's our
yeah.
main mode of transport. Do we want to be carting around 2 liters of water, all this extra stuff when we're like cycling to and
No,
from places? It's a no. So then it means we don't have this stuff with us, because I think it's the same if you're getting the bus places, if you walk places, you just kind of want to be lighter on your feet.
yeah, totally.
So I guess I do. So I do have that grab bag in the office, but yeah, it's the kind of thing that I think a lot of the time when I've spoken to emergency managers and they're like, yeah, just keep it in your car. I think it's like that works well if you live in the kind of place where you always drive
Yes.
to work
Yeah,
or you always drive
100%.
to wherever you're going.
Yeah,
And I think it doesn't work so well when you're in like a big city, and or you don't really use a car as your main mode of transport. Because
yeah,
yes, I always keep water in the car because I'm like, you can break down,
yeah,
water's really essential, like that kind of
yeah,
thing. If we're going for big trips, surprise, surprise, we take food with us because we're
yeah,
going for a big trip. That kind of stuff I find is covered.
yeah,
But yeah, it's not something that I just kind of have around, and I don't have it, in a grab bag in the sense of like by the door, just there waiting for us to go.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's
yeah.
where I kind of fall
And I
down on
think
things.
it's the thing though, is like all of these things have to suit your
Yeah,
lifestyle. Like,
totally.
I don't think there's like one way to do it. Like, it's the right way for you. And so I think just like, you've obviously like thought about it, like you've got some stuff at the office, but I also feel like at home, there's probably stuff that you could pull together if you needed to evacuate. But I guess the one thing I think is when you need to do it quickly is potentially,
What you remember.
yeah, but also, for tsunami as well. But I'd
Yeah,
also
yeah. You
rather
need to.
someone be alive than to be grabbing all these items.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah.
definitely. Yeah, rapid evacuation. All right, let's keep pushing through. But I think two more. 5 is know your hazard specific actions. So we're talking drop, cover, hold for earthquakes. We're talking long and strong, get gone for tsunami.
Ha ha.
I think that this is hot and steamy. this is a
Yeah.
good one.
This is how you don't die. And
Yeah, this is how
for
you don't die.
me, how you don't die is really important.
Yeah, those are really important. I think a lot of people know them. My favorite, well, not favorite, but is when people say them at like conferences or meetings and they get them wrong, and they do the
Oh, yeah.
words in, in different order. But I'm like, I think you know what you're meant to do. My like hot plus is when you do it and you practice it because you hear it and people are like, yes, I know about drop cold, and I'm like, so what do you hold on to? And people go, don't know. So I think it's that sort of thing where it's like actually knowing, because sometimes it's in your brain,
Yeah, I'm
and
gonna
then you're like, I
even
don't know
take
what
it
I'm doing. Like,
I
but I do think it's a hot action.
I think I'm even gonna take it a step further, Alistair, because I think there's a difference between knowing and having heard it and actually doing it.
Yeah, totally.
Because, like, how many times have you felt an earthquake and people, like, look around to see what everyone else is doing before anyone does anything? So I
That
think
one, that one I don't mind so much because most people are like, that was a jolt, and then you're like, is it gonna go bigger? And if it goes ever so slightly bigger or longer, then people go. And I've been under the desk with my colleagues, like
yeah.
it's a fun
But I
time
guess
down there.
yeah, I guess the thing is though, is, like, with those earthquakes, like, it can go from, like, quite light shaking to strong shaking, within a second. So it's like, ideally, you wanna be in that position before that strong shaking happens, so you're not actually, like, thrown to the ground, which is why, we say drop, cover, and hold for any earthquake shakings. I think there's, like, different elements there as well, because we also know from, like, the psychology research is that we just need one person to do that, and then other people will follow as well.
Oh, yes. Yes. I find this one quite fascinating.
Yeah.
Because the psychology, it sort of works like the wrong way too,
Yes.
where if one person in an authoritative position tells people to do the wrong thing, people follow them. And you have to be really quite self confident to know, actually
Mhm.
going back to that, the theatre example that I've had, the amount of times I've had a theatre induction and they're like, we're just gonna like wait here in the tsunami zone until like building tells us what to do. And I'm like,
No.
no, we are not. And I have
No.
to be the self confident person to be like, just gonna let you know, we're gonna go up the street and we're gonna go to this location.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do. So it's kind of, yeah, you have to really, not everyone around you knows the right actions to take. So super hard to know what you need
Yeah.
to do. And also, I think some of those questions that people have, that it's quite funny when people are like, "But what happens when I'm in my bed? Do I get out of my bed?" Knowing those little different variations,
Yeah.
it's also a good thing to know. So in that case, it's actually grab your pillow and put it over your head. So I think it's all about protecting your head. It's not about like getting off your bed and all that kind of thing. Probably don't get under
Yeah.
your bed. You don't want your bed falling on you.
Which
Just protect your head with your pillow.
Which I think is why it's so important that people know the why
Yeah,
behind the action, and so I think that's the thing that for me is, like, the game changer is when actually someone can explain the why, because then you can make sense of it and make it make sense in whatever scenario that you're in.
totally.
And so really it is because most injuries do occur when people are moving during an earthquake, like, if we look at all the different records of injuries from earthquake shaking. And so why we say, like, drop, it means people are getting, like, down onto the ground before they get maybe, like shoved over by the earthquake shaking. So that's your drop. And then we're covering, so we're looking after our head and anything that could, like, fall on it because of that earthquake shaking. Things can go flying all over the place. And so it's just making sure that our head, is protected. And that when we say hold, it's like holding on so you're not, like, shaking and thrown about, but also it can also be just like holding that position, because if you're outside in the playground, well, not on the playground because we're talking to adults, but if you're outside on the sports field, like, we want you to kind of, like, stay in that place rather than, like, it doesn't have to be running for something to hold on to as well.
Yeah, if you run, you're more likely to trip up, all those sorts of things. And then it's interesting as well, like the kind of the long-term myths as well that we have in respect to that. The amount of people who are like,
Yes.
I'm gonna go stand under a doorway, and then we say no, and they go, why? And it's because most doorways in New Zealand now aren't structural, so they don't actually add any structural protection to you. But what they do have in doorways are doors on hinges. And you know what doors on hinges can do
Never
when you
knew.
give them energy? They can slam in your on your fingers, and that's not fun. And we don't want all these minor little injuries, not even little. Some can be quite bad injuries in these events, which is in addition to all of the other injuries that we're expecting because it's a big event. So it's
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, I totally agree. Knowing the why on that is really important
Yeah.
so that people can then understand,
And I
okay,
think
I know why, so I'm going to go and do that thing because I'm confident in that
yeah.
action.
And I think, like, the more research that we do to kinda understand and, like, this messaging does evolve, it's also people keeping up to date with, like, what is the best
Yeah.
action in the different scenarios because it does actually change.
Yeah. Yeah. Science changes.
Yeah.
We learn new things and we know how to
Yeah.
better prepare. Okay, cool. The last one, number 6. How do we stay informed? Is that
What do you
an
mean?
action like just knowing how to stay informed? Is that an action that is hot or not?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily about knowing how to staying informed.
Okay.
I think
Just
it's
staying
more
informed.
I think it's more about actively staying informed. So, especially, like, I think my example that's coming to head is like for severe weather. So, say someone in your office, or I don't know, the mum that you spoke to at pickup is like, "Oh, I heard it bad weather's coming through." And you're like, "Oh, like, I should check out what the weather is." And to look at Met Service to see if the weather's going to be bad in the next 24 hours. Well, I think it's more about, like, and to look for information that is, like, correct and not, like, misinformation.
Mm.
So I think it's more about staying informed and knowing what sources are correct, as well as also remembering that, we hear a lot from our friends and family and colleagues, and making sure that we don't think about them as our single source of information. Like, we also
Yeah.
look for other information that's, like, evidence backed, or we go to an emergency management website to find out the latest on the situation.
Yeah. Everyone's most trusted source is their family and friends.
Yeah,
How
100%.
many times have you been to a pub quiz where your family and friends have got all the answers wrong? Like, they're like, I'm sure I know this. Okay. Like, sometimes it's your family and friends aren't right. Sorry to break it to you. Yeah. I totally agree with what you just said. So I'm going to be bold and I'm going to say knowing how to stay informed, I think is a not action. I feel like
Yeah,
I agree with like in your general day to day,
yeah,
like you should know how to kind of source things. But
yeah,
in terms of like when a thing's happened, being like, you know what, I'm so glad that I knew it was 96.7 long wave FM that I needed to tune in via my car. Like, I just like, if it's important, like, we're going to be able to find that information.
yeah.
I think equally, I guess I'm also the kind of person that I know that there's like a local like civil defense center down the road and I would just wander along there and find out. So it's real tricky, but I think some of the details of some of that stuff I'm like, well, I'm not going to remember, like have a list of which radio stations I need to tune into for those events because I'd probably just try the radio
You just
stations, the radio.
search.
I think that sort of brings us into kind of like a wrap up state in terms of what staying prepared means to us because I think what I struggle with a lot of these preparedness actions is my gosh, it feels like you've got to do a lot of stuff. Like sometimes you get told you've got to know which radio stations, you've got to have this, you've got to do this, you've got to have all these things, and you just kind of get way under. And it's also some of them are way less impactful than others. Like knowing how to drop, cover, and hold could save your life. Knowing the radio station frequency of like it's just like such small fry. And it's kind of yeah, that's where I kind of struggle because it's giving people a lot of information, a lot of expectations that we should do lots and lots of stuff. And I guess one of the things that that I think about a lot is great. If you've got a grab bag by the door, that's fine. Or if you've got like extra tins of stuff in your house so you can kind of weather the storm, etc. But I find that like if there was an earthquake and your chimney fell through your house, then like the fact that you had tins in your house does not mean that you can then stay in your house. So it doesn't actually solve that problem. So that's why I tend to fall on the side of if you're gonna do something, do some of those, as we spoke about at the top of the podcast, do those like physical risk reduction actions, like have a think about those because they'll actually make your home safer, like for a start, and that will physically stop and reduce those impacts so that then you can kind of think about some of these preparedness things. What do you think to that, Kate?
Yeah, I'm also just gonna add a caveat to that as well,
Yeah,
because not everyone will be in the position where they'll
I was
be,
about to say
yeah,
that.
stay in their house. So it's like you're also preparing to not be in your house. And I think that's the one where we're probably gonna be relying on others. And so the more that we can do ourselves, it just takes the pressure off
Yeah.
the system, I
Takes the
guess.
pressure. Yeah, it takes pressure off others, but then it's that sort of thing though that like if you can stay in your house, that in itself will
Yes.
take the pressure off the system.
Yeah.
I think what I do to totally get and understand is that some of these risk reduction actions that we've spoken about previously can be expensive, they can be time consuming, they can be costly, and sometimes you can't do those actions yourself. If you're renting, you don't have much influence over whether your landlord takes your chimney down. Like I totally get that. But they are things that like improve your home, like make your home safer and actually like make a difference in these events. And so, yeah,
I think that it really is like the main point here is just like any little bit that you do adds up. And it doesn't even matter like what it is. You could have just talked about like where you're like where you might meet someone, or like how you might pick where you might pick your kids up or who's going to pick your kids up because you live across town. And so even just those like small conversations that you have, or like, oh, I've actually got a water bottle and I'm going to fill it with water rather than having it sit empty in the cupboard, like that's so minor, but you're like just like a little bit more prepared than what you were.
yeah. So yeah, through this podcast, we're trying to guide you through all the things that you can do to increase your resilience to natural hazards. And in this episode, you've learned the simple actions you can take to get ready to respond to a natural hazard event, which actions we've taken ourselves and what we rated them. And so the actions that we recommend to take to prepare for natural hazards. Please give us a follow and a share. Contact us to share what you've done so you are safe as houses and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.